Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, I get to go to New Jersey this week. One of my favorite states. I know it's not everyone's favorite state. I do enjoy New Jersey. Get to eat some good food. Have the charming regional accents. I always look forward to that. Nice reminder of home. So I'm looking forward to. Are you looking forward to going to New Jersey, or am I the only one?
New Jersey is one of my, I'd say top 54 states and or territories in the U.S. to visit. They call it the Garden State, Tom. They should call it the Highway State and the State. No offense.
Forget about it. See, this is an accent I can do.
Mhm. Can you say forget about it with an Australian accent?
Indeed, I cannot. I do like the idea of ranking all of the 50 states and then miscellaneous numbers of territories, and Ohio State playing in all of them, and just like the Ohio State at Guam game. Like, that's going to be a banger. I am looking forward to that one right now. Ohio State minus 72. Wait, who you got?
My problem is you never want to face Guam Tech in midseason because they run the triple option, and it's just a bear. It's just a bear. Either play them at the start of the season and don't play them at all. Give them a couple of weeks in preseason to warm up to that triple option, or just avoid them entirely. And that's what I would do.
If we've said it once on this podcast, we've said it 1,000 times. Don't schedule Guam Tech.
Don't schedule Guam Tech. Just leave them be. Leave them. Let other teams. Let Illinois play Guam Tech. Ohio State should never and never on the road.
No.
Whatever. That's a show for another day. That's more of a June show.
Mm-hmm.
That Tom, mark that down in our calendar. Guam Tech, June 2022. So on Tuesday, we got to speak with Ryan Day, defensive play caller / secondary coach Matt Barnes, starting center Luke Whippler, a New Jerseyite in.
I would just say New Jersey native and avoid. It's like when you're writing around weird like prepositions, just write around it. New Jersey native.
And also Haskell Garrett, a Nevadaite,
Las Vegas native.
Dang it. All right. Let's just start the show over, Tom. And hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Tony. But yes, we did talk to them. It was good to talk to Matt Barnes. We will get to that first, but let's, I suppose, discuss the Ohio State quarterback situation, which is possibly the biggest thing in the world. CJ Stroud probably going to start. They would know more after Tuesday's practice, before Tuesday's practice. Feels good. The shoulder is feeling better, getting healthier, getting stronger. At this point, if he's healthy enough to play, he will start. Day was pretty adamant about that. So I am expecting Stroud to play and start. Tom, is that what you took from today as well?
Listening to Ryan Day talk on Tuesday, it was all couched in the, well, we'll have to see. We'll see how he looks. We'll see how he feels today. We'll see how he's doing in terms of practicing and all that kind of stuff. He wasn't willing to really definitively state that Stroud was going to play, barring a significant setback. If he Thursday re-aggravates whatever the injury is, and Day was not willing to talk about, right shoulder is all we've gotten out of anyone on this. Someone asked him, can you go into some more specifics on what the issue is? And he just said no. So I'll take that as a maybe. We'll circle back on that one. But yeah, he was not willing to talk about what the specific issue is. But whatever it is with that shoulder, if it gets, unless it gets aggravated, I would be surprised to see anyone other than CJ Stroud starting on the road at Rutgers on Saturday.
I would have liked to have, if somebody said when they asked about the shoulder and he's like, no, to be like, can you confirm it is the right shoulder? Just to see what he would have said. And then he's like, no, I don't even want to talk about which shoulder it is. I don't want defenses keying on him if it's in fact, from now on, I want CJ Stroud swinging both shoulders instead of just one. Don't let the offense or the defense know which area is painful. He also was asked about Kyle McCord. he was, I don't want to say critical. He wasn't effusive in his praise of how Kyle McCord played, made some bad reads. Said he got away with a couple of throws. I think one of those was his touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson. No, Jackson Smith and Jigba. That was a little underthrown. Wasn't even a back shoulder. It was more of a front shoulder. That's kind of a dangerous throw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why you don't see a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And did get kind of away with that one. And, you know, but overall, you know, he still threw for over 300 yards and didn't grade as a champion, but obviously played well enough. The key was just now he can take that game, add it to his, what I like to call, Tom, is experience bundle. You just keep bundling it. Not a bindle, that's for hobos. But, you know, you just all of these things that you can then carry on into the next game. So he's got to start under his belt. Next time he has a start, he'll be more comfortable. It was clear that he was a little shaky early on, got more comfortable, but this will have positive effects moving forward. But you could see, I don't think it was enough to sway Ryan Day. But clearly it wasn't enough to sway him to name Kyle McCord the starter.
Yeah, clearly. And that's not surprising. Because, I mean, McCord was solid, but not spectacular is kind of how I would grade him. You know, give him a B minus, maybe give him a B because it's his first start and you give him a little grade on a curve there. But, you know, you're right. I mean, the throw to Jackson Smith and Jigba was asked about it post game. It's like, so is that where you'd want the ball? And he kind of smiled and it was like, oh, you know, wherever I can catch it, wherever, which is like, that wasn't a yes. So, but you know, it's a true freshman in his first start. And you think about some of the other true freshmen we've seen play for Ohio State over the years, like there were some gross Braxton Miller throws is in his true freshman year. Terrell Pryor, his true freshman year, like that Troy game was just a big like yuck bomb. It was like he had 4 touchdowns. How did he play? Well, he had 4 touchdowns. Like that was, and McCord was much better than that. That was probably the best true freshman debut I've seen from an Ohio State true freshman quarterback. Not that there's a ton of competition there, but you know, he played well enough that there's plenty of stuff to learn from. And that's basically what Day was saying. Like you have plenty of stuff that you can sort of coach off of now. And he also kind of said, like, now you kind of have a sense, like, you know how it is in practice, but games are different. And now you've kind of gotten a sense for, like, you know, I'm sure in your head, you feel like at practice, you're doing great. And then, well, if I win a new game, certainly I would go 22 for 24 for 500 yards and 17 touchdowns. And now you've seen it. And now that's not what happened. But now you have stuff to work on. And the good news is they probably don't need Kyle McCord to start this weekend. Probably. I mean, we can't say no, but probably don't need Kyle McCord to start this weekend. But now you have some stuff to work on. And Day was asked about how they're going to divide up the first team reps. And he said, you know, they're going to continue to give guys different guys reps with the first team. The majority are going to go to the guy who they assume is going to play, who they are planning to play on Saturday. So again, we're assuming that's CJ Stroud. But Kyle McCord will continue to get some first team reps. It sounds like Jack Miller will continue to get some first team reps. And, you know, now those guys both have a little bit more film to learn off of, a little more film to, you know, to watch and learn from. And, you know, that's ultimately, you know, the Ohio State football quarterback room is in a better place now than it was 7 days ago, which, you know, for this point of the year, like that's really all you can ask.
Yeah. And I've said before, like people are spoiled by Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields in terms of what they should expect from a quarterback at Ohio State now in regards to the criticism of CJ Stroud. Even more so, I need to follow my own advice here when talking about Kyle McCord as a true freshman throwing for 300 yards in his first ever action. I'm going to assume we know Braxton Miller did not. We know Terrell Pryor did not. I'm going to assume Art Schleister didn't throw for 300 yards when he started the season opener. There was a bunch of interceptions.
They got shut out in 1978. So I can tell you he didn't throw any touchdown passes that day.
So it is just looking at that group of players, what Kyle McCord did. If there was no Justin Fields, there was no Dwayne Haskins, this guy would be like setting the world on fire. However, it would already be burning from what CJ Stroud had done the first few weeks. So I don't know. He just adds more fire to the fire. So yes, it is a good situation for the Ohio State quarterbacks. I did find it interesting that Ryan Day said Kyle McCord and Jack Miller pretty much played the way they practice. So I I guess that's okay. I mean, does that explain why they aren't starting and CJ Stroud is? Apparently, like what he saw was basically what he's been seeing in practice. And you see that the bad interception from McCord, not that we haven't seen interceptions from Stroud, but again, you just things having this experience, letting them throw interceptions. Shoot, they should have thrown Jack Miller in there and said, just throw it to an Akron guy. Just get it out of your system. Just go do it. Say you've done it. And then you don't have to worry about it, because you look at Cade McNamara at Michigan. Like, I don't think he's thrown one yet. Every throw now, it's like, is this the one? Is this the one? And I know that's the second time I've said that in terms of McNamara not having an interception. So I hope it's right, because I also said it on Michigan Monday. If it's wrong, that's also on Tom for not correcting me, which is his favorite thing to do. So I will hold him responsible on that one. Tom, let's talk about Kayvon Pope, who has been dismissed from the Ohio State football team. Ryan Day was asked about it today, and he said his quote was, "There has to be consequences for actions." And it said Pope's emotions got the best of him, but he has taken accountability for his actions. I believe he has since entered the transfer portal. So that's 2 linebackers in the span of a week, doing it in different forms and fashions, which is fine. Do it however you want. If you want to go out in a blaze of glory, that is your prerogative. And now Day kept being asked about it. He's like, well, we just like to move forward. I just like to move forward. And it's like, I understand, but we've never seen this happen before. So you might want to give us, like, I understand that we're probably going to ask about it. This was probably the last week to ask about it, but it's still a unique thing. And you're trying to get some quotes from the head coach. It's like, expand on, isn't this crazy?
And first of all, Cade McNamara, 0 career interceptions and 124 career pass attempts. So for once, you're correct. Good job. Don't make a habit of it. As far as Kayvon Pope, I mean, I'm sure people are thinking, why are reporters belaboring this? He was kicked off the team yesterday. This is the first time we've had a chance to get Day on the record about this stuff, because after the game, it was too soon to say. And then on Tuesday, it's like, well, we're already past that. It's like, well, when was the window when we could talk to you about this? I feel like we've missed it on both sides here. So, and I don't know how much there really is to say. Like, yeah, he did a thing that he probably shouldn't have done on the field, and then he tweeted something he shouldn't have tweeted, and now he's no longer a member of the team. Day's not going to want to get into any big picture. What do you think this means about the culture of the linebacker room? And he sort of has sort of poo-pooed that, like it's not. He thinks it's more of a product of just a product of our times and a product of the transfer portal and college football players, having a little more agency, and some guys handle that well and some guys handle that not so well. And, that's guys transferring in the middle of the season. They basically said he doesn't really like it. Guys transfer in the middle of the season because you start the season and, you're a member of the team, and you shouldn't leave your team in the middle of the season. You should stick it out and finish the season. And but he understands, like, with the 4-game rule, like, sometimes guys are going to transfer. That's a thing. That is, with the way the NCAA rules are structured, if you transfer before you play in more than 4 games, you can redshirt that year. You save a year of eligibility. So it's like, you understand, you don't really like it sort of in the abstract and sort of the just general overall team perspective, but he understands it. So, now that linebacker room's pretty thin. I mean, there are 7 scholarship guys in there, and one of them is Mitchell Melton, who's out for the year, and another one is Steele Chambers, who just moved over there a couple months ago. And, you've gone from, like, yeah, that's a reasonably deep room, especially because they're only playing 2 of them a lot of the time, to now all of a sudden, like, well, if they want to go to a 3 linebacker package, which is, was basically the base defense last year. That's half of their healthy scholarship linebackers on the field at a time. And he was asked, are you thinking about moving someone else over to kind of help with that? And he said, not yet, but if you get, if more guys are hurt, more guys are unavailable, like, at that point, you maybe have to have that conversation, but they're not to that point yet.
Yeah, Mitchell Melton is one of those guys. Reed Carrico, true freshman, who you wouldn't expect, that he finally got a little bit of action. Palaie Naoteote. Just imagine if he hadn't gotten his eligibility. That was significant. So they don't have a lot of guys. I would imagine maybe Court Williams could move down if they need him. Like, there's really not a lot of other options. Jack Sawyer playing linebacker now, but these are all, like, Jack Sawyer, probably more of a bigger Sam type that they don't play much of. So you wouldn't want to take, they need defensive ends as well. So I don't know who you go get other than like Court Williams is the only guy that I can think of. Like, you got any others? Like, they would just have to put a nickel in there.
Yeah, you're just moving bullet guys like Court Williams or Craig Young to linebacker. Which
Craig Young, of course, you played linebacker last year. Yeah,
I mean you can do that, but you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's not like they have like this incredible depth at bullet where they can afford to move two guys over and not feel it, and because those are two of the three guys who are probably at the top of the depth chart at bullet. So, and Ronnie Hickman can only do so much. He can't do everything. So although sometimes it has felt like it.
Yeah, I was gonna argue a little bit there because I think at this point he can do everything. He can play safety, deep safety. He can play in the slot. He can tackle the ball, as we have seen as a linebacker, and that's what the bullet is supposed to do. We didn't know it would be like the 200-pound guy. We thought it'd be the 220-pound Craig Young guy, but this is how it works out. This whole thing with the transfer portal, the makeup of ages, and this was something that I've been thinking about recently, and it was brought up today by maybe somebody from the Lantern about all of the transfers from the 2018 class. There's been like 9 at this point. So you've got a bunch of young guys, you've got a bunch of old guys, and you don't have much in the middle. And you're seeing some of the whatever this is at Ohio State right now. I think that is some of it. I think the transfer portal is part of it. The lost year last year still ends up coming into play. Honestly, if I was still in college and still doing sociology, there'd be like a huge sociology paper that you could do from all of this about all of the different reasons things are a little screwy right now, and they would all be valid. I just don't know what is the most valid. But when you look at this team right now, and Ryan Day has always talked about the inexperience, there's inexperience with the seniors. And I don't know that people give that enough weight. You've got Taraji Mitchell, senior captain, starting linebacker, and Akron was his 4th start ever. So it's like, yes, he's been around forever. Doesn't have a lot of experience about playing 60 snaps, 70 snaps in a game. And so there are going to be growing pains, not just from the rookies, but from the veterans who are playing more than they ever have, who are making mistakes, learning from them, learning on the fly. And they have so many expectations that they've never had to deal with. They could hide in the shadows, and now they're completely exposed. It's like a parking lot at an amusement park. There's no shade, and the sun is just beating down. The ground is hot. Your feet are hot. Your top of your head is hot. It's just sun all around. Everybody you are completely exposed, and that could take some time. That can be rough getting used to, and kind of like just breaking through that as well.
Yeah, and first of all, remember that we're in the itchy lot. That's the first important thing. The first important thing with this analogy. The second thing is, one of the reasons you're having those issues is the lack of 2020 snaps. I mean, that was something they talked about, was you have, the Bowling Green game in 2020, the Buffalo game in 2020. Those are games where, the same conversation we just had about Kyle McCord and Jack Miller and the value of those snaps. And okay, now you've got these on film. Now you've had the opportunity to play. Now you can learn from that. You can coach off of that. That's important. That's why the 4-game sample, or the 4-game kind of redshirt rule, has been so valuable for these young guys, because now you can play in a few of these games where it's going to be Ohio State 60, other team very small number. And last year you didn't get that because you didn't have non-conference games. And because of some of the wonkiness with the season, Ohio State didn't even have a lot of games where they were just kicking the heck out of whoever they were playing. So you didn't get, they were up 35 to whatever 35 to 3 on Rutgers at halftime or whatever it was. And then Rutgers just kind of hung around and had some trick plays, and you never got those guys in. I mean, this is how you have 2 guys who are returning players who were the 2nd and 3rd string quarterbacks last year with 0 career pass attempts. But, that the quarterback is the position that everyone can kind of do off the top of their head. The linebackers didn't get to play as much. Dallas Scant didn't get to play as many reps as he would have normally last year. Kayvon Pope didn't get to play as many reps as he would have normally last year. Taraji Mitchell didn't get to play as many reps as he would have normally last year. And a lot of those second-year guys Cam Martinez, for example, Legend Cavazos, Ryan Watts, all those second-year guys, they didn't get to play as much last year as they normally would have. And all of that kind of adds up. And you're seeing that as plus you missed practice reps, obviously. So you're missing all that stuff. That's sort of, I think, catching up with them in a couple spots. And some places they've been able to make up for it. And some places guys have kind of picked back up quicker. But I think that's maybe one of the reasons why, in addition to, hey, this is an extremely talented freshman class, true freshman class of 2021, the fact that the class of 2020 didn't have a full year of a head start on the class of 2021, that may also be a piece to why some of those 2021 guys are kind of vaulting over the 2020 guys already.
Yeah, there's just so many different things. Mentioned it before. It's the perfect storm. It's like 2 or 3 perfect storms all coming together to impact the entire college football sphere. And just as you see weird stuff, just know weird results come from weird data being put into it, basically. Mm-hmm. And there's all kinds of weird data being put into the world right now. Real quickly, Harry Miller, Ryan Day said he's been dealing with some health issues. He's going to come back this week and be part of the team. We've seen him in the last 2 weeks coming off of the practice field. That doesn't mean he's been practicing. We know guys are out there all of the time, not really practicing. They're, jogging around, walking around, just being around. So it sounds like he's going to be getting back into action. Luke Whippler, who we also talked to today, was asked, how's that competition going to go now? And he just said, you'll have to address those questions to Ryan Day and Greg Stadrawa, and then they'll go from there. But, I'm fully expecting Luke Whippler to be the center moving forward. Harry Miller's going to have to work his way back into things. And at this point, it almost sounded like Thayer Munford might have to do the same, which seemed, I was like, wait, because they want chemistry. And as Thayer Munford gets back, they kind of, do they like their chemistry right now with Nicholas Petit-Frere, Matt Jones at left guard, and everybody else around? And it's like, I don't see Thayer Munford having him sit. So I'm expecting once he gets back, he'll be back at left guard. But Matt Jones, credit that guy with sticking around. I think there's more value to offensive linemen sticking around than playmakers sticking around, or like linebackers. I don't know how much value it adds for like Dallas Gant and Kayvon Pope to have stuck around for this long waiting for their turn, when it's just different positions where guys are ready earlier at linebacker or other positions, whereas being 3 years waiting, building yourself at offensive line lends itself to, okay, thank you for waiting and developing. And now you've got a Matt Jones who can come in at a moment's notice, play like an all Big Ten player whenever he gets asked to play. And then, okay, now it's Thayer's turn. I'll be a good soldier. I won't be happy about it. And not that he's complaining, because he's a quiet guy. They say he doesn't complain. But you can't be happy about being replaced. But also, he keeps working. He keeps doing everything he's asked. He makes the coaches happy. And so that's just, those are the guys, as Ryan Day has said, you need good teammates as they see younger guys playing in front of them, or in this case, older guys. You just need to be good teammates and support the guys around you who are playing. And that's what Matt Jones does.
Matt Jones reminds me a little bit of Brandon Bowen from a couple of years ago, or maybe Josh Allaby, where they weren't necessarily starters, but they could fit in a couple different spots. And it was like, at various points, they have to put up the bat signal, and it's like, hey, this guy just went down. We need someone right now. And, Jamarco Jones just went down. Who can come in? Who will save us? And then Josh Allaby comes in off the bench and plays just fine. Josh Allaby, when Thayer Munford went down in the Rose Bowl a couple of years ago, Josh Allaby stepped in, played great at tackle. I don't know that he was never really a regular starter. Brandon Bowen, I think, played much more than Allaby did, but it was the same thing. He could play in a couple different spots. Matt Jones can probably play both guard spots. He can play center. That's super valuable. And I would have said when Munford went down, Jones is in there to fill the spot until Munford comes back. And I still think when Munford's healthy, Munford's coming back and playing. But Day said, we've gone from, when we were deciding who we're going to play the best 5. But now we feel like we have a best 6. And, Matt Jones is part of that best 6. He has proven that he deserves to be on the field. And, you said, you made the point that he's probably not going to be happy about it. We know he's not going to be happy about it because we talked to him last week when he was talking about coming into fall camp, assuming he was going to be a starter, feeling like this was going to be his year to be a starter, playing well enough that he felt like he could be a starter. And then they do something crazy and move the offensive line around in a way that no one expected. Normally as a guard, you're like, well, I just have to beat the other guard. It's like, whoa, not so fast, my friend. What if they put a different tackle in and move the other tackle to the other tackle spot and kick the other tackle inside the guard? Like, no one had that on their scorecard entering fall camp, but that's what happened to Matt Jones. But instead of griping, instead of complaining, he said, he was just asked, did you go into Ryan Day's office and complain? He's like, no, wouldn't have accomplished anything. So just kind of kept his nose down, kept working, and put himself in a position where when Thayer Munford got hurt, he was there to step up. And now he's in the circle of trust on the offensive line. So I don't expect him to stay in that starting lineup when Thayer Munford comes back. But until Thayer Munford comes back, you get the sense that there's no real concern at all on that offensive line. And as Day said, this is like when baseball teams complain about having too much pitching. Like, oh, we have 7 starters in spring training. Listen and see if you can hear the Mets fan coming out in my voice right now. Oh, we have 7 starters. Whatever will we do with all these pitchers? Oh, guess what? Guess what happens to baseball pitchers? They get hurt. And all of a sudden now you have 5 starters. Ta-da! Didn't that work itself out neatly? Like, sometimes offensive linemen get rolled up on. Sometimes they sprain an ankle. These things happen. You have seen them happen. You need more than 5 offensive linemen to get your way through a season. So now Ohio State has more than 5 offensive linemen they feel comfortable with. And because of the way this is lined up, if a tackle goes down, you just kick Thayer Munford out to guard and you slide Matt Jones in. If a guard goes down, you slide Matt Jones in. I mean, like this is, you can kind of slide the puzzle pieces around and make them fit in a couple different spots, but that is super valuable to have that as a team going into, the meat of the Big Ten schedule now.
Let's talk about the defense before we get out of here. We talked with Matt Barnes as well. And I think one of the questions I asked to both guys, just the comfort level in the secondary, things are falling into place. Lathan Ransom moves back to free safety along with Bryson Shaw. Those two will, alternate. You've got Cameron Martinez stepping into that cover safety. I think it was Barnes that said, yeah, well, we had 3 guys at one spot and just 1 guy at the other. So that didn't make any sense. So you move Lathan Ransom to free safety. Now you've got 2 there, and you've got Cam Martinez. You got Marcus Williamson there in the slot. And that seems to, I think it solidifies things. You've also obviously Ronnie Hickman helps solidify things. Denzel Burke helps solidify things. I was really, taken aback or what Matt Barnes had to say about Sevyn Banks, because there's been rumblings or some of the stuff Ryan Day had said about he's practicing better or he needs to do this or needs to do that. Matt Barnes called him a pro, never had an issue with them. And obviously he's going to be a big part of the defense moving forward. Hopefully they get Cam Brown back. It sounds like they will get some guys back. Ryan Day was optimistic about that. But that was, just asking both of those guys about the secondary, because I look at it now, we know pass defense is an issue, but those guys, like those 5 or 6, like they are getting more solid. And as they continue to do the split safeties, or they're rotating down at the snap, or less close to before the snap, where they're not just showing everything they're going to be doing. To me, I think those are the guys that should be on the field. And as long as you've got the guys that should be on the field and the scheme is better and the guys are better prepared, it feels like that should be leading to some better defense moving forward.
You would think. I mean, just that was his position coming into the year that I think we looked at and said this might be the biggest question mark on the team, the corner spots and then the safety spots. And you've gotten not a whole heck of a lot out of Sevyn Banks, who we would have projected in the spring to be the number 1 corner. And your number 1 free safety, Josh Proctor, is out for the year. And it's like, and somehow this has ended up being far better than you would have expected. Like the development has been remarkable in a couple spots. And Denzel Burke is, like manna from heaven for that secondary. Secondary God reached down and just pointed his finger and touched Matt Barnes on the tip of the finger and said, I will gift you a true freshman corner who's going to be just fantastic from day one. And he's just going to keep getting better. And it's like, what? How did that happen? but it is what has happened. And, Cam Brown, if he's healthy, it was an interesting answer from Day about that, because he was asked about how many guys are going to be back. And he was kind of trying not to say, well, probably a bunch of them would have played last week if it wasn't Akron, but it was Akron, so therefore they didn't play. Like, that was kind of the vibe I got from him on a lot of that. But we'll see. We'll see whether Cam Brown is playing this week or not. If he is, that would be big. This is not a week where Rutgers is a fantastic air raid team. I think the run is a much more, the run and the short pass are much more concerned than like the downfield passing game against Rutgers. But, they want to play their best 11. Cam Brown is definitely one of their best 11. But the depth in that, you sort of get the sense they're figuring things out in the defensive backfield. Like, it was a disaster at various times earlier. And now it's like, it's a largely different cast than it was 3 weeks ago. But it's like, okay, now they've maybe figured it out. And I think maybe part of that goes back to the, all the missed reps and stuff that we talked about earlier. They didn't have quite as many reps last year to really know what they had coming into this year. Now they've seen more game experience from all these guys. So that's how a guy like Cam Martinez goes from, person who over the summer, like sometimes when we were going through the defensive backfield, every once in a while I would forget Cam Martinez, just because it was just like you're going through the corners who played last year and he wasn't a corner who played. So you just kind of would skip over him. All of a sudden he's part of the solution there. And, you would have lumped him in with like Marcus Williamson or Marcus Hooker or something like that in that defensive backfield. It's like, yeah. And then the other guys. And then now he's like a guy who might not come off the field. So they have added some guys this year. They have found some guys this year. And all of a sudden, what looked like might be one of the weak spots in the team might be one of the strengths, at least on the defense.
Yeah. And Cam Martinez almost becomes a linchpin on this defense, allowing Lathan Ransom to move because they feel really good about what they've got in Martinez. Now, this was just Akron. I feel like that should be, do we have to say that before the show, at the start of the show, and also at the end of the show? One of the other interesting things Barnes said, and it goes back to something that Ross Fulton has said about the defense showing its hand before the snap. Barnes said disguise is such a big part of the game when discussing his defense and pre-snap, post-snap, what you're showing. And it's like, it is a big part of the defense because don't disguise it. You give up 400 and some odd yards passing, or this happens, or you give up 3 touchdowns on the same play that is to the short side of the field by God, where it's just, when that's your team doing it, you're like, stop running to the short side. When it's happening to your team, it's like, why can't you defend the short side? Like it's like if the only play you ever give up is a shovel pass, it never works for you, but you can't stop it. And so I just thought that was interesting about disguising things, and they're doing that better. They're more comfortable with who they have. And, I think they're finding the same thing at linebacker as well, where they've got a solid 4. There's Palai'i now, Teoche, that kind of, I don't know that there's a spot for him because he's that third linebacker, that Sam. I also wonder, will Tommy Eichenberg's reps get cut down as Cody Simon comes in? And Steel Chambers has cut into Taraja Mitchell's reps, and that will continue because I don't think at this point you can just say, well, we just don't have room for you because that guy is making plays. And as long as you got guys making plays, I don't care if you're going to rotate them. They rotate on the defensive line. Ohio State has rotated at corner. It's been fine. Go ahead and rotate at linebacker. The problem with the rotation before is when you have 6 guys not producing. It's much different, Tom, if you've got 3 guys and they're all producing.
Well, and before they were rotating like 9 linebackers. Well, that problem has solved itself. You no longer have 9 linebackers to rotate. So that's helpful. It is interesting that you go into a year expecting one thing, and when you don't get production, when you don't get the results you're looking for, that's when it's like, okay, it's time to get creative. And they're getting creative. And it's like, okay, well, the guy who just moved to linebacker, well, now he's one of the best linebackers. And, the whole defensive backfield is basically reshuffled from where it was earlier in the year. But you've now found the Ronnie Hickman, Lathan Ransom, Cam Martinez combination. That's like, oh, maybe this works. And let's caveat it exactly what you caveated before. It was just Akron. Akron is exceptionally bad. Akron is, the poor man's Vanderbilt, the rich man's UConn. I don't know. There's somewhere in that. Wait till you figure out that Vanderbilt and UConn are playing this weekend.
Yeah.
That is facts only. I am secretly kind of excited for that game. I don't know if we'll get to watch. I think that feels like it must be a noon kick. That has the old Jefferson Pilot Musk all over it. The noon kick that was on like the UPN in Columbus. It was like, why is the pizza place have on this Wake Forest Presbyterian game? Like, well, because they only get 3 channels and it's a commercial or this.
If it was Presbyterian, you would stop there and just eat the pizza and watch it.
Well, that's not 2021 Presbyterian, obviously. This is long ago Presbyterian before they were interesting. But yeah, we'll see. I think we're going to know a little bit more this weekend. This is a good kind of intermediate step because you're not going to get super tested by the passing game of Rutgers this weekend because the skill talent's not there. Noah Vedral is not a super fantastic quarterback. We're going to find out a lot more a week after that when Maryland comes to town because Taulia Tagovailoa is a kind of quarterback and Raheem Jarrett's on that team and you've got some skill talent there that's going to you can get torched by Maryland. I don't think you're going to get torched by Rutgers, but it's going to be a substantially better test than Akron was. So we're going to know a lot more just based on that.
But Tom, there's time enough to talk about Maryland week. This is Rutgers week. All right. This is as we started the show, this is about Jersey. And I am looking forward to being there. We'll have more details on what we're going to be doing and when. But, we are looking forward to being there. We'll get there Friday and maybe find some shenanigans. Who's to say? You got anything else, Tom, before we go?
Tony, what did I ask Ryan Day about today? Was it my favorite subject in the entire world? Did I get to talk to Ryan Day about my favorite subject in the entire world? How can you have the show? I thought you were going to lead the show with this, you monster.
No, I was going to leave it alone because I figured you're just going to turn into like a 45-minute morning scoop.
Well, I'll probably feature that later. I may write about it this week as well. But I did get to ask Ryan Day about 4th down decision making in plus territory. When do you kick? When do you what goes into that decision? Kicking a field goal versus punting versus going for it. Because he's been more aggressive about going for it, which is kind of reflective of the overall trend in the sport right now. And he said there's a lot, and all the stuff that you would sort of assume, game state, down and distance, what's the score, how much time is left, who are you playing, how much, it sounded like the opponent factors into that a lot for him. He said they've done a lot of studies on that and they've done a lot of research on it. It doesn't sound like, I asked if they subscribed to like a championship analytics. I mean, if you remember, they did a morning scoop episode with Rob Ash sometime earlier in the summer about, sort of the analytics that companies will provide that give you a real detailed breakdown. It sounds like they don't subscribe to that. They just kind of have more of an overall philosophy. They've done a lot of research on it. The one thing that I thought was an interesting point that he made was part of it is determined by, do you have a play you are really comfortable is going to get it? Do you, it's like a 2-point conversion play. Do you have a 2-point conversion play that is going to work? If you have a play you're comfortable is going to be able to get it, you're much more likely to do it than it's like, well, we're going to go. I wonder what we should run here. It sounds like that's maybe that comes in earlier in that decision-making process than it might otherwise. Doug Lesmerises from the Cleveland.com followed up on that a little while later and asked him, I thought an interesting follow-up, which was, so you've got, you look at the scoring environment in college football right now. And, with as many teams as are scoring 40 points a game, 50 points a game, field goals are not worth, they're still worth 3 points, but they're not worth what they used to be. He said, are there times that punting and playing field position might be a more aggressive choice than trying to kick a long field goal? And Day kind of smiled and he said, yes, but you have to execute the punt. You have to pin them deep, and then you have to stop them on defense. And he had a big smile on his face when he said, you have to stop them on defense. And I thought, I wonder what he's thinking about right now. And Tony, it remains a mystery to me to this day.
Oh no, Tom, I bet he was thinking about the 99-yard drive that Oregon scored on them after they punted from the 34-yard line and pinned them at the 1-yard line, being very aggressive in that manner. I also thought it was interesting where it's about the play, because really we talk about field position and go how 4th and 6, 4th and 5, where are you? That sort of thing. It's never, you don't really think, sure, there's no well, 4th and 15, what play do we have? You're not going for it. But like 4th and 6, the quarterback really likes this play. It's been strong in practice, or, we don't like this play and it hasn't been working in practice. Let's just go ahead and punt. I am surprised though, Tom. I was a little bit embarrassed for you when you asked Ryan Day about Presbyterian coach Kevin Kelly, and you said, do you think Kevin Kelly is as dreamy as I think he's as dreamy? And Ryan Day was like, you, sir, are creeping me out.
Are those hearts on your Trapper Keeper that say Tom plus KK? Like, no. Close my Trapper Keeper right away, sir. You have good eyes, sir.
That's a HIPAA violation. Anyway, I think that'll do it, Tom. If you are good to go, are you finished?
Now we're good to go. Now we've talked about the most important thing. Now we're good to go.
The most important play in football, not punting. Anyway, all right, that will do it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. As always, you can find us at BuckeyeScoop.com. You can find everybody at BuckeyeScoop.com. If you're not yet a member, feel free to join. Check us out for a month. See what you think. You can also find all of our videos, interviews, streams at youtube.com/BuckeyeScoop, as you guys know. Subscribe. You'll be notified when anything drops. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you tomorrow.